Welcome to Effervescent, where we embrace a full circle approach to health. Today, we're going to talk about burnout, but first, we're going to have Kinley start us off with a little bit of mindful breath.
Okay, and if you're new to this, it's really quick. We just like to start our episodes off a little more grounded, and we love if you join with us. So for this one, given the topic of burnout, I thought it'd be cool to just throw in the idea that every inhale, there has to be an exhale before the inhale. So get comfy, whatever that looks like, eyes open or closed, doesn't matter for this one. And find your breath, your normal rhythm of breath. But focus on the exhales. So often people say take a deep breath, and we breathe in and in and in and we hold, but rarely do we focus on the exhale. So once you become aware of your breath, take an inhale and then exhale all the air out. And as you exhale, you're creating space. And only with that space and that pause can you then take a full deep breath in. And you don't have to go at my rhythm, go at the speed that your body's asking for, but keep the emphasis on your exhales and let your body be soft. And then the inhale naturally will just flood your body if you're focusing on exhaling. Let go, let go. Fill the body with new breath, and let's do it one more time wherever you're at. Take one more long exhale, let it all go, let your shoulders drop. And then the body naturally will just fill with air when you're ready. And when it does, you can flutter your eyes open if they were closed. You can shake your body if you need to wake yourself up a little. And now let's talk about burnout.
Oof. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish I had those breathing exercises when I was a new mom and feeling so tired and burned out.
Yeah.
Honestly. I was thinking while we were breathing back to when I first had my first baby, which was when I gave birth to Kinley.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember vividly, and then Whitney came, not too long after. I remember laying on the couch and letting the kids jump on me because they were having fun, and I literally was so tired I couldn't get up. Not a bad way, just like, oh, they think I'm playing a game right now. And I remember Kinley coming over and peeling my eyes open and like thinking it was so funny, but I literally was just trying to stay awake, and I was so tired. So burnout is real. And especially, if you're a new mom or many other things, health reasons that we become so tired or stress that exhausts us, burnout is real. So to talk about it, I think is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I think that to start off, I want to have each person share a time when you felt completely burned out. You don't even have to give details like we're spilling our deepest, darkest secrets, but if you have a time that you feel comfortable sharing, and those of you listening, think of a time when you felt completely burned out. And I want you to reflect on what brought you to that place and what were some maybe patterns that were going on during that time that made you feel burned out.
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Well, I honestly had two right at the top of my head, so I'll say both, but they're really quick. One was, this is kind of funny. I made it a point to, like 2 years ago when TikTok was like really, really popping off, to post 3 times a day on TikTok for like a year.
Ooh.
3 times a freaking day. Yeah. And I mean, it worked. Like I was getting followers, whatever, but I remember distinctly I had traveled to Utah. We were visiting, family. Now I live here, but we were visiting, and there was one day that it was like 11:55, and I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't post anything. I didn't post like at all. Do I let this go? Whatever. And then Preston was like, well, don't, you've been doing so good. And I was like, no, I'm just going to let it go. And then after that, I didn't post again for like 5 months, because it was like, as soon as I stopped for one day, it was like, I couldn't even get on the app really. Like I was done. So that was funny. And then the other one is, this one I feel like actually so many people deal with, sports. I feel like, you know, you, especially like childhood sports or a sport that you play your whole life. Like I played soccer, you know, as you guys know. And it's like it's your whole life for so many years. And obviously there's ebbs and flows where you're excited and then you're not. But then as soon as you decide like you're not going to do it anymore, it's like, oh, I'm done. Like I'm not looking at a soccer ball. I am not running ever again in my life. Like it was just, it's like the all or nothing again. And there was a few times where like I would kind of quit, but then I would still want it and then I would like try again. But yeah, it's like once you're completely burned out, whether it's like a bad coach or like a team or you're just done. Like I knew I didn't want to play in college, so I was like, I'm freaking done. And yeah, it took me a while to like even start moving again after I stopped my sport, because I was just like it just took such a mental and physical toll to like do that for years, but I also appreciate it at the same time.
Yeah, those are both really great examples. Can you think of any patterns or similarities between the two experiences that got you to that point?
And I want obviously
I will.
you to share in a second.
I won't forget.
Yeah. It's hard because I think I know my exact problems when it comes to burnout. I actually kind of burn out a lot in a weird way, and I think I've been able to become aware enough to the point of like, oh, I know exactly what I do. And so I'm more going to talk about the TikTok one because it relates to more like present time and what I do often. The soccer one's kind of different, where it was like a long haul of like, then you finally decide you're just done. And I feel like that felt different. But sorry, let me concise this down. So I feel like the similarities for what I usually do when I'm burning out or I about to burn out is, and I've heard some people say like, this is kind of just how it goes, like when you're doing any sort of new endeavor. So like, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, but what I always do is I get extremely excited about something, and I get very hyperfixated on something, and I do it to the nines. Like right now I'm like wanting to make music again, but before it's like content creation was my thing, and I get so hyperfixated that I don't even allow myself to rest. Like I'm constantly thinking about it, constantly researching about it, and it'll be like a bout of it kind of depends, but it'd always be like 3 months to maybe 6 months where like I don't even allow it space to like breathe and grow. It's like 100% of my brain power is on that thing. And then finally a flip will switch. And I'm like, I can't even think, like I'm done. I can't even think about it anymore. I don't even want to play my guitar anymore. I don't want to like do the craft that I bought all the things for or whatever. 'Cause it's like, I just know I never gave it enough breathing room and myself enough rest away from the thing I loved so much. So yeah.
I have to, Kinley, we're going to get to you in a second, but Brighton is reminding me of this quote that I wrote down about this topic, and it sounds perfectly what you're describing. And I do the same thing, no judgment, but it says, the flame that burns twice as bright burns out. Whoa, sorry. Can't see it well. The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And that's by, and I'm not sure how to say his name, but I love his quotes. Lao Tzu. Dang.
Never have known how to say his name. I don't think anyone.
I love his quotes, and I don't know how to say his name. I need to go research that. I think he's long gone, but I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce it. But I do the same thing where I'm so burning all the candles, and then all of a sudden they just go out, and I'm like, oh, like that was good, but what was?
Yeah, it's like, I was so interested in it. Yeah. Where did it go? Because I know it was within me that I was so interested in it.
Yeah.
And so,
there's so much at play, though. Because, like, I think of human design, and you're a manifesting generator. And that is the multi-passionate person that is meant to not fully finish things.
Yeah.
But then eventually it all wraps together and comes to a point. But
that's not my life. I don't know what is.
But we all three are manifesting generators. So we're like, yeah.
And all three maximizers if you do Strengths Finder assessment. So, I mean, we all relate in this way a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your turn. But your turn. That was my whole.
All right, here goes therapy. Mom's episodes every time. Okay, my burnout. I feel like I'm just barely coming out of my burnout. Starting a small business. Like, holy crap. It is not for the faint of heart. I feel like the most what is the word? Tribulous? Is that a word?
Tumultuous? I don't know.
I don't know either. The most tumultuous and healing things I've been through were my divorce, getting remarried, and meeting Cam and falling in love, and trying to start a freaking business. It's like a whole healing journey within itself. And gosh, like you're wearing every hat. You're trying to do the marketing, but then you're trying to do the messaging, and then you're trying to do the back end, and then write emails and then respond to DMs, and then the planning, and it's a lot. And yeah, I have burnt out. Like I pushed and pushed and launched and launched and launched. And it's so ironic because I'm teaching people about grounding, and I was grounding, and I was going to the mountains, and I was literally doing everything I was teaching. But I learned that like it's okay to also hermit and not just be doing, but then your business, like if you're the solopreneur, like your business is affected by you not showing up on Instagram. But I kind of stopped, and now like your TikTok one, like every day I'll film videos every day to post, and they're all in my camera roll still. But going to your question to Brighton, like what's the thing that stops me? I don't think it's burnout, but it's also negative beliefs about myself. It's like when you push past the negative beliefs and you start doing it, then it's like, okay, I can do this. But when you stop and do burnout, then you have to it's just like going to the gym. Like you have to retake that first step of like putting yourself out there. And so,
especially if it's like you're pivoting a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
then you're restarting. Because it's different than like, oh, I'm just going to start posting on TikTok again because I missed it. Because I kind of did that. But I feel like with something like you or like me kind of transitioning what you're talking about, it's like you're restarting everything again.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah, you can't transition without pausing, going inward.
Yeah.
And recalibrating.
Totally.
But if you don't, then you hit burnout.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the hero's journey. And can somebody pull that up really fast? With my eyesight, and I'm gonna, and maybe I'll talk about it while you're. Do you want me to talk about it while you're pulling it up?
No, I've got it right here.
Okay. So okay, go ahead.
What do you want me to do?
I'm just gonna say, the hero's journey is something that we all go through all the time, and business and anything in our lives worth doing anything, we go on this journey over and over again. And so when you're talking about shifting, it's kind of like you went through the cycle of TikTok, and you're here at the top of the hero's journey again, and you're deciding, do I want to take the same journey? Am I shifting? And you're always recreating yourself. And business is the perfect example of like, and here we go again. And does it ever end? And do we ever finish? I don't think so. Because when Dad and I were smaller business versus bigger business, it doesn't matter. You're always having to take the same risks and think about, things that are going on,
Okay, but my second one, because Brighton had two, I also had two.
Okay.
And my second one was healing. Like, I went through the hero's journey. They talk a lot about it in therapy, and that's where I learned it. Like, I was diving in and doing the work, and then it hit a point where it was like, okay, like, I need a break. I can't just keep digging up all this stuff. Like, I need a break. But healing happens in layers. And so then when I reached like, okay, I'm good. Maybe there's more to work on. And then I started doing it. Like, that was another cycle of burnout that I went through. Okay, do you want me to read?
Yeah, for those who haven't heard about the hero's journey, even me, I've heard about it a million times, but it helps to have you read the cycle. So start at the top of the beginning and just tell the listener the order of the hero's journey.
So there's 12.
Okay.
And they're really short. So the first one is the ordinary world. This is where the hero starts in their normal life, unaware of the adventure ahead.
That's Star Wars, all of us, or Harry Potter.
Any epic movie story, our own lives takes this.
Yes, every movie follows this.
Yeah.
And then there's 2, the call to adventure. Something disrupts the hero's ordinary world, inviting them to face a challenge or a quest. 3, refusal of the call. The hero hesitates, feels fear, doubt, or reluctant to embark on the journey.
Totally.
4, they meet the mentor. A guide or mentor appears, often offering wisdom, tools, or encouragement. 5.
That's nice.
I love it. You're like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's good. Oh yeah.
I'm just like, where's my mentor at? Anyway, sorry. I'll shut up.
5 is crossing the threshold. The hero commits and leaves the familiar world behind, stepping into the unknown. I mean, this is literally The Alchemist, the book.
True.
6, tests allies and enemies. The hero faces trials, makes friends, and confronts foes while navigating the new world. 7, approach to the inmost cave. The hero prepares for the central ordeal, often facing their inner fears or doubts. And then 8, the ordeal, a critical challenge or crisis where the hero faces death or their greatest fear. 9 is reward, seizing the sword. After overcoming the ordeal, the hero gains a reward, insight, or new power. Then the road back. The hero begins the journey back to the ordinary world, sometimes facing more challenges. Resurrection, a final test where the hero is transformed by their experiences and reborn stronger. And then the last one is return with elixir. The hero returns home, bringing wisdom, healing, or a gift that benefits their community. And then
The cycle
world.
starts over.
Yeah.
So thank you for reading that. I think it's fascinating because sometimes we can go through a cycle in a day, right?
So true.
It's like, and then this, and I decide, and then, and
You're like, actually, I'm not doing that anymore.
yeah. And then other times it can be decades, that you're fighting one battle and you're working through this process. And personal belief, I think if there's something that we need and want to learn, we're going to go through this similar cycles over and over again until we kind of conquer one set of knowledge, that we want to learn. But you can see why burnout happens for all of us, right? Because we're here, we're here to learn. We're learning every single day, and it can be exhausting. So I think with your stories and examples, those are two great examples of hero's journey. I hope you listening to the podcast can be thinking of what has been a hero's journey for you.
Or maybe what stage you're at in
Yeah.
this one right now, too.
For
Would
sure.
be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk about 3 tips to kind of like help us go against burnout, or when we're feeling those feelings, we can keep going. And we're going to have a PDF that can be downloaded as the freebie that actually goes along with this episode. And for those who have already downloaded the PDF and used it, you can still maybe re-look at it or redo it when you hear this episode if you've already done it.
Yeah, always check in.
Yeah, I mean, you can always look at this and be reflecting.
It's called energy mapping. And so it's basically learning where you're leaking energy. Or what was yours? What was your explanation?
It basically was where you're putting your energy and then where you want to actually put your energy, if that makes sense. I kind of said that, botched that, but.
Yeah, so, a lot of different avenues will lead us to this kind of energy mapping, however you want to say it. In performance psychology, coaching, counseling, lots of different people or avenues will say, okay, we're going to take assessment of your life and where you're at, and then see kind of what you want to do with that. Mm-hmm. So the first step is, in performance psychology terms, it's called attentional control or attention control. And it's recognizing where is your energy going now. Now, sometimes we're burned out because we are just doing a lot and we're pushing ourselves so hard. But there's a lot of things that drain us. One of them being sometimes we're giving energy to places that are just not fulfilling to us. They don't fill our souls, but we're maybe giving to certain people or situations that just is always draining, and we're not recuperating that energy. Do either of you want to have an example about that?
We actually did a whole episode on this called Is Your Energy Healthy or something like that just a couple weeks ago. So we'll link that somewhere. But yeah.
What was your question, though? Because I feel like
Well, just in this example of burnout, if you want to share an example of somewhere your energy is going that could be draining you, that's bringing the burnout. But
I have one.
Yeah.
As I'm getting ready to pivot my offerings, I've noticed that my energy is more focused on the future than the present because I'm trying to plan, and that feels like the right thing to do, but it's also like
taking your energy.
Yeah, it's an
into
energy
the future.
leak because every day I'm like, okay, so on October 11th, I'm going to be, instead of just like, I'm right here, what needs to happen right here, right now that's going to help me in the future?
Mm-hmm. There's actually this idea, and then I want, you to get to your steps. There's this idea of the season of no, and I'm going to mess with it a little bit because I think that people always think they need to be doing more stuff to maybe fulfill their dreams or get ahead or do their business. And obviously you need to be doing a lot of stuff. But I like the idea of like it's not adding more things all the time. It's like, what can you actually take away to make it the most simple? And I noticed for me, even in my health journey, it was like, I need to have the most optimized schedule and all of these things. And I've said this in other episodes too, but just like, instead I realized, oh no, I don't even like cold plunging. I don't even like doing these things that people are telling me to do. And that's actually taking my energy because I'm thinking so much about it. And then it burned me out before just realizing like how I like to do things and how I can make it sustainable for myself. And I think the sustainability is very individual, basically.
And also very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most important points we can make for burnout is my definition of what's going to be busy or too lax is going to be completely different than somebody else's. And that's fine. I talk about ADHD sometimes because I recently, I guess I've always been who I am and I've learned to function with how my brain works and it's fine. But I have been studying about ADHD because I was recently diagnosed when I was almost 50 years old. And I saw a meme the other day about ADHD and it just shows these people laying all over a house, like between a door frame and like in their car, just like zonked out. And it just said something like, when I try so hard to do so much and then all of a sudden you hit a wall and you can't even move, and whether you're, ADHD or not, or even want like labels or not, when we push ourselves so hard, then all of a sudden we're just going to be laid out flat and we have no energy for anything.
And if you think about it, were you done?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
And if you think about it, like, we are cyclical beings, just like the moon has phases and we have seasons. Like our bodies, even the feminine body or the female body has their own menstrual cycle. Like we are cyclical.
True.
And we're meant to have the fall and the winter of resting and slowing down. Not just, it's like trying to take a bike ride to the top of a mountain and be like, okay, I'm going on this hard bike ride to the top of the mountain, but there's never a top of the mountain. Like at one point you're going to fall off your bike and just like lay in the grass. But if there's the top of the mountain, then you get that pause and to reap that reward and then to go down the hill and like the rest. And that in itself is a cycle that I feel like often we just push through and stay in the summer season.
I actually have an interesting thought to that, and I want to hear your steps as well to that analogy, because I thought you were going to say this, but I liked your analogy too. What if almost like avoiding burnout or whatever is figuring out how to change the gears on the bike so it makes it easier as you're doing your ascent up the mountain, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Do you get a break though?
Oh, yeah, and it's like, I think I thought you were going to say that and then say get to the top, but it is interesting to be like, how do you mitigate when you know you need to push hard? Because there's sometimes you just know you need to push hard. You're a young mom.
Like you're almost there to the top.
Like you're a young mom and you can't just not
Parenting's
rest,
bike ride never ends.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
So
Where
you
it's
better
like,
learn to shift gears.
Yeah.
Because, like you're saying, if you
Or a small business, like,
if you downshift or upshift, and so it's like you still have to make the distance, but you're pedaling faster, but it's not as hard to pedal. Or you're like, okay, I feel a little bit more strength. I don't want to pedal as often, but I'm going to get further.
Let's do a sprint or something.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
What's your steps?
Yeah. No, that's great. Okay, so with attention control, so just being aware, where's my energy going? What's draining me? What's adding to me? And in the PDF you can download, it will prompt you, and there's kind of a pie chart, and you can say, oh, my energy is going either most to family or to my business or to my whatever it is, just to get that assessment. Is the first step to know awareness, once again, to know what's actually happening. Okay, and then the second step is, Kinley, it reminds me a lot of what you do in your work every day. It's called micro recovery rituals is what I called it. Meaning you're on this journey, and like, what are you doing throughout the journey to reboot? Because if you wait too long, your car's out of gas, you're running on fumes, you run out, somebody has to come actually bring you gas because you're on the side of the road. I've never done that. Just kidding, I have.
But that's like the doctor.
Yeah.
Like you push yourself so hard that like you literally need that somebody else to pick you up off the ground. Yeah.
So just for step number 2 and micro recovery rituals, what's something you could say that you do as a micro, like keep going when you're feeling that burnout? You don't want to totally hit the wall, but you need to keep working through it at a different pace or whatever.
Well, I think everyone's answer is going to be different based off of what works for them. Because like for me, I go to the mountains and I go sit in the dirt and I journal. And that's like the thing that reboots me and helps me feel most whole. But sometimes I don't even have the mountains with me, but it's like I just need to go sit with myself and even just journal. So I think that my answer to that question would be take time to discover what gives you energy, and that's what the freebie also helps you with, and what depletes your energy, and then do more of those things that give you energy, and have on your list big things like going to the mountains or to the beach or even on a drive, and have little things that are like, okay, this breath work they did in that one episode really helped me calm down. I'm going to do that right now.
Or like even a bath. I actually thought.
Oh, yeah.
A bath where it's incredibly an intentional bath. That's not like I'm going to listen to music or think about it, yeah, like little things. I like the word micro because it's like just those little hits throughout the day that are,
And when you're in the bath, because this is one of my go-tos, try to just listen to the water and observe the tile on your shower and not be thinking through a problem, because so often we shower and bathe and we are so in our head that we don't even feel the water on our skin or like slow down in the shower.
You know what, to that thought, so Rick Rubin, he wrote a book called The Creative Act. He's a musician and creative, whatever. He's a really cool person. But he talks about how, and I'm pretty sure he says there's a ton of studies on this as well, because I think I've heard this on the Huberman Lab podcast. Anyways, he talks about how with any problem you're working on, he was using music, but it could be any kind of anything, any project. He said something that's so important that so many people forget to do is take time away from that project, because your brain's still working on it behind the scenes, but you're not like focusing and working on it. And then he calls it a fresh set of eyes. So then when you come back to the studio or your office space or whatever, you have those new fresh set of eyes to like actually see what you need to do. But my problem is I never take the time away from the thing to have a fresh set of eyes to see it. But yeah.
I think another thing with that that is important is to think, what are things that are going to cost money and what is free? Because sometimes we treat ourselves to something that's bigger, that like maybe even gas to get to the mountains, or maybe your reset is a concert, but you can't pay for a concert every day. They're really expensive. And so a bath is going to be cheaper, and so just having a toolbox or a reservoir of ideas of things. I call it my top 10 joys. That's usually how I talk about it in my curriculum, but it's like having it at the ready so that when you're like, I'm reaching burnout, I'm going to call my friend and I'm going to listen to music, or I'm going to go on a drive and I'm going to sit in the trees. Like whatever it is for you, listener, think about those things that is your toolbox.
And I feel like the common denominator is pausing, is like
for sure
not pushing through. Because if we're almost to the top of that mountain on the bike and we are like, I just have to push a little harder, sometimes there's a time and place for that. And sometimes it's like, then just take a moment, catch your breath, and then do the final stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we push ourselves so hard.
I think ego has something to do with it.
Yes. A lot of things have. Why do we push ourselves so hard? Right. I mean, that's a whole topic in and of itself. But yeah, tell us why ego.
I mean, I just feel like for me, it's like not feeling good enough shining through in actions. It's like, oh, well, I just have to make it perfect, because if I really dissected my thoughts, it's like, I want this offer to be perfect so that it helps people, but I also don't want to be judged because then I won't feel enough, and it like spirals downhill based off of a belief instead of like, I did my best and I put my heart into it and I trust that they're going to feel that.
I also think I've noticed people in my personal life kind of stay busy and like they're on the brink of burnout because they don't want to be still with themselves. And so it's like the distraction is the work and is like the pushing, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Or totally ego in the way of like, I mean, you just scroll through Instagram with all these, especially men, but anyone that's like entrepreneurial, and it's like no rest whatsoever. You have to lock in, like they, and that is totally,
which is ego. But like the thing is, we all have an ego. It's just our ego identity is really like where we feel like we're worthy or not worthy, and oftentimes we feel like we're worthy based off of
what you
our actions.
Well, and sometimes we just need to feed our family. I mean, sometimes there literally is not an option. It's like you have to show up because you have to work because there's no other option.
Yeah.
Totally.
And whether it's one job or two or three, like it doesn't matter. Like you can want to be zen all you want, and you can want to always be so balanced. And then there's just kind of reality sometimes where it's like, I don't have that option, So I think that's why the micro resets are so important, because I'm going to work today no matter what. I can't cancel my day because I feel like it. So what am I going to do in the car and the ride there to reset, or who can I talk to for
That gives me
5 minutes that's going to be like, help me laugh for a minute, or, I need to come home from work. My kids are waiting inside. I want to be present with them. So I'm going to take 5 minutes in my car. Dad says this, he would sit in the driveway and I would call him and say, where are you? Like, I thought you were coming home. And he's like, I need just a minute to sit in my car and reset, because he wanted to walk in, not dragging everything from the day with him. So I think being intentional is so powerful when we're trying to not burn out.
And I think you kind of you can sit in this limbo state where you don't fully rest and then you're not fully working. So like you should just pick one, because either way it's going to actually help you further. So it's like I picture, coming home from work and you're tired and all of this stuff. But usually I guess for me, and what I've seen is, then you do the limbo where you like scroll on your phone and you flip on the TV.
Right.
And that's not rest either.
Right. Exactly. Are you tuning out because you're calling it rest?
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah.
Or is it intentional reset and refresh? And there's a big difference. I love your point.
Yeah. I just know, unless it's like an intentional movie that I've wanted to watch, or like with my family, something, I know mostly actually it like just sucked my energy even more and just made me like numb for a little bit, but it didn't like rejuvenate me in any way. It was just kind of like, hey, there's your little bit of numbness, and then
Yeah, such good. Did you have anything else to say, Kinley?
I'm just laughing because one time I taught some men about grounding, and usually I teach women, and this has nothing to do with men and women other than this is what happened in my class. And so when I taught the women, I asked them what grounds them, and they're like, nature and this and that. I'm like, yes. And then I just asked the exact same question to a class of men, and they were like, watching a basketball game. I was like,
totally different thing.
okay, yes. And are you present with yourself, or are you just turning on a basketball game? And they're like, oh, no, I'm definitely just turning on a basketball game.
Well, and that kind of leads me to step 3, though, because this point is that we have our performance anchors, meaning maybe for someone watching basketball and they know that helps them laugh, helps them kind of detach from the stress for a minute, and they get kind of a reset. Maybe that is a performance anchor for them, or they're like, this helps me perform because I watch the team play together. I get a laugh. I get to see my friends for a minute, and then they move on, I love it. Yeah, it's different for everyone. So what are some performance anchors for you both that you're like, these are kind of my non-negotiables, the things that if I want to stay high performing or performing at all, I need to work into my schedule?
I mean, off the top of my head, like the gym and movement. Like I even before podcasting or anything, like I always feel better if I move first and then go on about my day. So it totally is like a non-negotiable most of the time.
Yeah, I love that.
Honestly, for me, it's going to the mountains, and I know that's not, everyone can't do that and go to, like, people don't even have mountains sometimes by them, but for me, it is taking time alone, and usually in nature, even in like the backyard or something, or on a walk, just having a moment where I'm grounding and alone with my thoughts instead of like turning on music to numb my thoughts or cancel out the noise. Yeah, my non-negotiable is sitting with myself.
And that's harder than you would think.
Yeah.
To sit with
Super
yourself.
hard. I mean, even with the whole music thing, I just feel like I can, even with like a podcast, it's like maybe after this podcast, maybe the listener just turns everything off for a minute, 2 minutes, and just hears, because there's so much of my life that I realized I was watching YouTube videos and podcasts and music, and it was like I couldn't even hear myself anymore. But at the same time, sometimes music and sometimes podcasts like reinvigorate my fire as well.
So. Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to say a little tip, because I know that sitting still can be one of the hardest things for like most people. Because they're like, no, I really do best on the go, and that's okay to be on the go. But when I say being still, what I'm really saying is being present, even if you're driving in the car and the kids are screaming. And so my tip would be to do the 3x3, where we've said it on the podcast, but you name 3 things you can see, and you don't just like, okay, there's a light, there's a this, there's a that. It's like you look at the things and take a moment to like actually see them, not just name them. And then you name 3 things that you hear around you, and you focus on one sound at a time, not just jump sounds. And then 3 things that you feel, whether it's inside the body or just externally, like I feel the AC blowing on my face, or I feel my shirt, my bra strap slipping on my shoulder right now, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
love
my
that.
tip.
Yeah, that's really great. What about you, Brighton? Is there something you want to share with that?
I honestly, it's like I think I'm giving myself advice, but
Mhm.
it really would be stepping away from. Obviously, it's kind of different if you're like a mom or a dad, but always for me, I think stepping away from the thing you're thinking about or working on or anything, and just like playing, like laughing or finding whatever it is that's separate from what you do, I think is super important, and even will make you higher performing in the thing that you want to be good at too. So
I 100% would say the thing that burned me out was because I stopped playing, and like I would go do things, but I wasn't getting lost in the things. I was still thinking about my
the other thing.
project,
I totally.
but I was with the family, but I was like, I've got to go do this thing and
Yeah.
this thing and this thing. Yeah.
Totally. I do that all
So
the time.
Take Brighton's advice.
Yeah. I
Wish
need to
I
take
did.
my own advice too. So
This is going to be a little, sometimes I get thoughts and inspiration through images. So I'm just going to speak it as I say it. It seems that quite often, and I'll just use myself as an example, I'm here in the universe, right? This is going to go really deep.
I love it.
And I'm screaming out to the world, like, I want to do this, and I think this, and can you believe this? And did you, like it is so big. And then it's like, do we ever stop and listen? And sometimes you hear, I know it's just another way to say meditation or, intention, all of those things, but like, it's kind of like, have you ever heard anybody describe prayer that way? It's like we pray, if we choose to pray, we speak our intentions, or I would love to have this happen, or, please bless this person, or na, amen, and you're done. And it's like, we're literally speaking out into the universe about something we care about. And did we ever listen to what the other side is saying?
for sure.
We just do things in so speedily, and because either we feel like we need to or whatever, check the box, but we're not even waiting for the answers. It doesn't matter what religion you are, or like even if it's just meditation, it's the same thing.
Listening to yourself as well.
We're putting all these thoughts and energy out about all of the things we're trying to do and speak and say, and it's so busy and it's so fast, like I'm talking right now. And Kinley would say, take a breath. Because I'm like imagining myself in that place. But geez, and maybe that's why I get most of my intense answers during my sleep, because it forces me to slow down and to listen. And if we can just be more intentional about that, I really think that our burnout won't happen as often.
Okay, so what does listening look like? Because if someone's like, okay, yeah, I pray like that, or I do have all these big dreams and aspirations, or I do want this in my relationship, and I go to therapy and I do the things, like, what does listening look like?
Okay, listening for me is full body listening.
So paint me a picture of you listening.
Yeah, so say that I am praying or I'm meditating on something that means something to me, and I ask a very specific question, which I think is important. This is sidebar. I think it's important to ask for specifically, whether we're manifesting or whatever, exactly what we want, because then we recognize when it happens and it's more likely for it to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I put out an intention, I ask a question. Instead of letting myself just move on to wait, and sometimes the full body listening for me is like, I feel a tickle in my stomach, or my heart leaps, or maybe I hear a very specific sentence in my head that I wasn't previously thinking, or somebody comes to mind, or these to me are all symbols or directions that I could go to try to make that thing happen. Because we can ask for things all day long, but at the end of the day, like, we are the magic that needs to engage with our life for those things to come about as well. We can't just sit and expect that everything that we want is going to be dropped in our lap, because the beauty is in the discovery. It's in the hero's journey.
And it takes listening to even see those signs.
What does listening mean for
I
you?
want to hear your
Yeah,
answer.
go, Brighton.
Honestly, I don't know because I struggle with it. I think I'm incredibly impatient.
That's not bad.
I love you.
I understand that.
Like, I think I'm just, like, I look outside of myself or I don't know. I just want it to be an answer, so then I just wait for the only answer that I want it to be, type of a thing.
I love that. Say it again.
I want it to be one answer, so I wait for it to be that answer instead of truly waiting to see what the answer actually is.
I'm sure that you're not the only one that does that, because you have predetermined what your answer is going to look like. And there's so many ways to get what you need and want, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I don't know. I always go back to journaling. Truly, it's the free writing for me, where I feel like stuff flows through me sometimes, where I'm not the one that's actually thinking about it. I'm just like writing it down. I even think speaking sometimes, when you're speaking, you're like, oh, why? Like, that wasn't even me that came up with that advice for that person or that thing, or, you know, had that epiphany. Like, you almost feel like it's like speaking through you. So I feel like those are some ways. But yeah, honestly, like with things I want in my life, I'm like, can you just show me a sign that I should like do it, you know? And it's not really listening of like, well, should you do it? Or like, what does it look like? So yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I had such a big question. I asked it, but I'm like, gosh, like, it looks so different to me in so many different scenarios. Because, of course, like, I do meditate and I do go to the mountains and I do love journaling. And sometimes I'll journal and, like, ask a question in my journal as if I'm praying. Like, well, why am I feeling like this? Or what do I do with this? And then I'll journal the answer. And then I'll ask. It's like I'm praying, but in my journal instead of just out loud. Sometimes it is out loud in my car, but I think listening to me is, like, channeling or movement, and sometimes physically, but oftentimes not. Like, sometimes it is me just talking and moving the things through me, or journaling and moving it through me, because movement creates clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
Do you guys feel like you get answers often about things, or do you feel like it's something that you just, the more you work on, the more you are able to get answers?
So for me, I have learned, especially the last like few years, that when I'm more focused on an answer, I don't get an answer. But if I'm focused on a feeling,
Yeah.
if I just follow the thing that makes me feel the best in my body, even if it scares me, but I'm following like, okay, I feel like I need to start a podcast. That terrifies me, but it feels like my body is like reaching towards it.
I feel like that's how I operate too.
That's more my answer than tell me where to go in Europe or tell me what to do here. Yeah.
Totally.
I think practice is a big part of it. I think that when I was your age, I was not thinking about any of this. I was just surviving, and it's fine. Like, I found my own way of survival. I wrote a paper in school recently that asked what performance psychology tools I use, to stay resilient. And I actually reflected back to in my 20s when, we lost our business and we didn't have food to feed the kids and all of these things. And I survived. And so I was picking up tools without realizing what I was doing. I remember going to the park to feed the ducks because that made the kids happy and that made me happy. I couldn't change anything about my surroundings right off. We had bill collectors and all that, but I was finding ways to refuel when I felt like burning out. But over time, I think I definitely became more intentional out of necessity, because I felt like if I did not, I'd want to give up, and I didn't want to give up. So practice, lots of practice. Every body and everybody is different. So practicing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to bring up one final kind of thought with this before we wrap up, and that is self-talk. And I wasn't even planning on bringing this up, but if you are doing all the things, and you're like, I have my timeout moments, and I do journal, and I do this and I do that, and I'm just so burned out. I think another thing to really pay attention to is your inner talk. What are you saying to yourself? So if you're setting out to do something hard and you're burned out and you just don't want to get out of bed and get ready to do it, tune in at like your radio station to what is playing in your mind at that moment. Are you thinking, oh, I can't stand these people. I don't know what I'm going to wear. I don't feel comfortable going. I don't, maybe I didn't get enough sleep, or are those the messages that are playing in the background record player in your head over and over? Or are you saying, oh, I don't want to go, but I'm excited for the outcome of what this is going to bring? Or even by the end of today, it'll be over. It'll be done. Can you reframe the things that are going on in your mind so that you have more energy to step into the day?
So for me, I actually want to say something. I noticed last week that I was very much burning out. And because I just wanted to say yes to all the things, everything was so fun, but I was like, okay, I'm burning out. And I knew I had said yes to something that it felt like a no in my body, but I knew I was doing it out of feeling like I have to or should. Where was I going with this? I don't know. What was the question?
You're almost burnt out. And so your self-talk, maybe how you reframed how you thought about the thing that you had to get up and do.
Dang. I had a point to the madness, but I guess that it's just a confession time that I was burning out. If it comes back to me, I'll say it.
Yeah. What about you, Brighton? Is there anything that, like, your self-talk that you don't even have to, I don't think this always has to be a confessionary time for all of us. Like, I do this and I need to do that. If it's a tip, or even if it's just to the listener, like, just pay attention. What record player, what time frame are you from? CD, 8-track,
VHS.
iCloud, VHS,
iPod Mini.
Bluetooth. What is it even now? What's playing?
Yeah.
What channel are you tuning into? And do you want to flip the channel? Do you want to reframe some of those thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would just echo that. It's like, I think there's always a reason to be upset for something. So it's like, why isn't there a reason you can try and be happy over the same thing? That's way easier said than done. And I'm not the most amazing person either with self-talk, but I will say, I think this also comes with awareness at the end of the day. Because if you don't even realize that when you're getting up out of bed, all you're saying is like how not excited you are, it's just, that's not setting yourself up for success or an intention to have like a good day. And I think there's always minimal ways that you can change that actually makes a big difference. But yeah, there's nothing else I would really add to that, honestly. I just agree with it.
I actually remembered my thought, and it kind of goes with it. I think that, okay, so in my story, like, I was like pushing, and it was because I felt like I should do it. But like, you're feeling burnout for a reason. And sometimes it's just because you need to rest and not push harder. And I feel like that's the whole point of this episode is like, yes, we can push harder and we can do things to mitigate burnout. But sometimes burnout is you're burnt out and you need to sleep in and you need to take time to just be. And yeah, you can play, and yeah, we can like help ourselves. But sometimes the best help is to literally just
do nothing.
Let yourself be burnt out.
Yeah.
And don't think about it too much.
I actually want to say one last thought to that. I also think, and this is for only specific people that are listening to this, so I don't think this is in every scenario at all, but I feel the need to say this maybe for a listener right now. I think that if you are burnt out, maybe it's because it's not right for you. And maybe that's like a hard thing to come to terms with, and you thought your life was going to look that way, or you wanted to be that thing or go to school for that thing. And then you got there and all of a sudden you're like, no, this isn't for me. And I know it in my heart, but I'm still pushing for outside reasons. Maybe my parents want me to go, or I promised that I would, or this is what I saw my life to be like.
I don't want to let go of this relationship,
Yeah.
even though I can't get out of bed every day.
Yeah, relationship, anything. So I also, maybe just wrapping it up for me personally, or for this, is, you know, I think back to this quote that says, find something that feels like play to you and looks like play, or looks like work to other people. And I do think that there's some truth in that like, if you're having to just struggle every single day of your life to do this specific thing, like, maybe you know in your heart that that is just not the thing for you anymore. And just coming to terms with that is sometimes really hard.
Like, follow the feeling, like I was saying earlier. Your body's going to tell you. If you're just tired, but you were motivated and you did love it, like, your body's going to say whether or not it's for you. You'll feel either a pull and you just need a break, or you'll feel like, I am climbing out of a hole that never ends every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to end with this story. And I wasn't planning on it, but it's one of those pings, like I'm listening for, I feel like once again, so like you said, maybe somebody needs to hear this, but I was in Vietnam once and I was on kind of an educational trip with my son, and we had a tour guide that took us to the bridge, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one that the hands that hold the bridge over that huge valley, and it's gorgeous. But he was telling us a story about how when he was young, and it was during the Vietnam War, he was an older man. There used to be like scrap metal that would fall out of the sky because airplanes would be falling and crashing.
Jeez.
And, you know, he lived when he was a young boy during the Vietnam War. And so part of his job was to clean up the airplanes that were falling from the sky. Once, you know, when they settled, they're in their farming land or whatever it was. And sometimes the pieces of the plane were so big that they couldn't move them. And so, but this man, I couldn't even believe, you know, he said, but you know what? It was okay, because what happened was we made those into playhouses for the kids. We took part of the plane and we, you know, made little places for us to sleep, and it was so fun. And he was literally and honestly being so positive about the fun pieces of scrap metal of the planes that were in his field. And I kept waiting for him to kind of like say some snide remark about Americans and Vietnam War or something like that, but he literally wasn't. He was just saying, this was our reality, and I had to get up and do this. How does this feel about, you know, I feel like he could have felt burned out, you know, from cleaning up airplanes in his field for his parents. But he and his family found a way to reframe it and to look at it in a different perspective so that they could keep going and doing this job that they needed to do. So life is not always easy, you know, and war in general, it's hard for everybody involved, no matter what country you're from, or, you know, it's an awful thing that happens. But, you know, he even found a way to reframe that, to get up the next day and to do the hard thing and to keep going, even though I'm sure he felt burned out. And I think we can all choose to do that, work on that, even if it's super hard, because it is, because our lives will be more peaceful when we can. So
Love that.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. And if there's anything you want to share with us, then leave it in the notes below, or message us or DM or whatever. But thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.
Until next time.